The first time, like, my order was like 90 minutes late. The second time I went there, like, there was a fly in my ice cream, and then the third time, like, they just gave me the wrong order. So I was like really upset because I really cared about
Right.
this place. Like, I felt so guilty, and I was like, man, here I am thinking the world revolves around me. And little did I know, the on the other side, behind the restaurant, how hard it is, right? In the UK or the Western countries, another challenge is the fact that the tech has advanced so much that we have to also stay on pace with that. So it was all by luck or chance, but I went into an industry not knowing tech and not knowing the industry itself and not having any connections in the industry.
Yes. So welcome to the show, Zeeshan. Super nice having you here.
Thank you for having me, brother.
We'll be talking about Harlyy, your startup, about your journey, and all of it. Why don't we start with an introduction?
Cool. Hey guys, my name is Zeeshan. I'm currently 21 years old and I'm the co-founder of Harlyy. We are a guest feedback and recovery software for large multi-unit restaurants, and we've been working on it for the last couple of years, and we've grown quite a bit. And we have kind of like our largest market is in Pakistan, but then we also have clients in MENA, in UK, and a couple of more coming up in the US.
That's superb. It's a very interesting space, right? How did you
Yeah, yeah.
figure this out? Are there any experiences in the restaurant industry that kind of led you to find this gap? No?
No, man, it was all by luck or chance. But basically,
Hmm.
quick, we can go into the like earlier part like later on. But I was looking for something to do. I had a company before this, and that was an agency that kind of ended when I was going to university, and I wanted to do something in tech. And the biggest reasons why is because I knew that A, like, it has to be kind of scalable, because that's one of the problems I faced in the agency, and B, it has to be tech, just because I was getting passionate about it, and it was like the kind of like the COVID hype where all the startups were getting millions of
Right.
fundraising, and I was just getting like imposter syndrome, and I just wanted to do something, right? So growing up in Pakistan, the only thing there was to do was go to restaurants to eat, like at least in Karachi. So all you used to go is like there was only the only thing there is to do is to go to restaurants, right? So basically the way the idea came about is I went to a restaurant and I really loved this place, right? And the first time, like, my order was like 90 minutes late. The second time I went there, like, there was a fly in my ice cream, and then not ice cream, like my burger. So there's some mosquito. And then the third time, like, they just gave me the wrong order. So I was like really upset because I really cared about
Right.
this place. So I was like, I was very young, so I thought the world revolved around me. So my idea was I'll make like a Facebook group, and
Mhm.
it's gonna be like other customers that had bad experiences can just bash restaurants there. So literally that was it, right?
You're going for a more concise Yelp.
Yeah, literally. So it was a horrible idea, anyways. But so the restaurant owner kind of found out about this, and he invited me for dinner. And
Oh,
I
you
was like,
did the group
obviously,
actually.
yeah. So obviously, like, I was like 19 at the time, right? So I that was a like still a big deal for me. It was my favorite restaurant place. The owner actually reached out, so I went to dinner with him, and I swear to God, I'll never forget this. He puts his hand on my shoulder and he goes like, "Son, I really care about my customers, but 2 days ago I got the biggest like tax fine of my life, even though I pay all my taxes, so I don't know what happened. And a week ago, 2 weeks ago, my wife passed away. So right now I'm struggling to keep this place afloat. Like, as much as I care about my customers, I'm just not able to like manage everything. And I felt so bad. Like, I felt so guilty. And I was like, man, here I am thinking the world revolves around me, and little did I know, the on the other side, behind the restaurant, how hard it is, right? So I told him,
Mhm. Mhm.
Uncle, don't worry. James, who is the co-founder of Harlyy, very good friend of mine, very talented engineer. I got on a
Mhm.
call with him and I was like, man, let's help this guy out. So what we did is we spent the entire night building like a product that scrapes your all your online reviews and just
Mhm.
summarizes it and pushes it to WhatsApp, because that's the main form of communication here, right? And the next day I messaged the owner to want to meet him, and he was at the restaurant only, just because it's one outlet, he's always there. I went there, I showed it to him, and he was like really touched by this, and he was like, listen, there's potential. What I'm gonna do is and I did this for free. I didn't want anything. I just felt really bad,
Mhm.
right? So then he was like, okay, I'm gonna make you talk to other restaurant owner friends that I have, and that's basically day one of Harlyy. And then we started talking to users again and again, and that's how we kind of just focused on guest feedback and recovery. So I love telling the story because they also grew from one outlet to over 50 plus in the last 2 years. And we've also grown from like one to like hundreds and hundreds of restaurants using us.
That's such a human story in a way, because we don't often kind of think on the other side, because it's difficult, because sometimes we just take it for granted. Service businesses, this entire hospitality sector, all of it, we just kind of take it for granted, right? That it's
Yeah,
just functioning
man.
and it just should function, but it's people running them,
Yeah,
and
it's
people have
brutal
lives, right?
behind the scenes. It's brutal. Like margins are low.
Mhm.
You're always stressed.
Yeah,
You have
yeah.
a million different problems, staff problems, inventory problems, like in Pakistan tax problems. Like there's so much going on always.
There's yeah,
Brutal.
there's some allure to hospitality businesses, especially like bars, restaurants, but it's just they are just too hard to manage. I don't think a lot of people understand it.
Yeah, and it's also very passion driven, right? So a lot of people come
Yes.
into it for passion, but and those are people that usually are not able to scale. Um,
Hmm.
and that's fine if their objective is to have like one or two
Yeah,
outlets.
yeah,
But
makes
if the
sense.
objective is to do something mass market and scale to like 50 or 100 units, it's a
Hmm.
different ball game altogether. So it's
Right.
less passion, more having the right systems, having the right team,
Hmm.
things like that.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Two things I relate with, which is imposter syndrome, and we're both very, very young, but yeah, it's still there, and scalability. I run a studio, so scalability is kind of not my thing in some way, but the next goal is entrepreneurship, and it makes sense because tech has enabled us so much, and it has enabled Harlyy as well. So, like, how did you onboard the first few like restaurants? What did you tell them? What were the challenges?
So honestly speaking, so a lot of it, continuing the story, so they were
Hmm.
really good friends with this restaurant owner, who, by the way, before this experience I never knew this person. So, like
Hmm.
that, this is also dumb. I went into an industry not knowing tech and not knowing the industry itself and not having any connections in the industry. So that was
Hmm.
like really brutal, but I this was like my lucky kind of right place right time moment.
Right.
So the other people onboarded us just on the fact that we, like, on the restaurant owners kind of thing, because he really vouched for us, and we did not charge them because, to be very honest, it's not something that was valuable at the time, and our entire goal was to just use these 3 4 restaurants to just get their feedback, have them use
Hmm.
it, and build the product. At that time I didn't know what the product could be, so we tried so many different things. At one time we were doing attendance management, we went into loyalty, we went into XYZ. Eventually we figured out like we have to choose one and just focus there, and that was the best decision we made. Like, so basically we got lucky. So to answer your question, we got lucky with the first onboarding first users, but we didn't ask for money at least like 6 months later, till we knew we had a product that people actually cared about. And a lot of it was me just going to the restaurant every day and talking to everyone there and figuring out what their problems were, and then coming back home very sad when I realized we weren't solving any of those problems.
Yeah, it's difficult at first getting to understand what are even the core problems that we can solve,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Any specific challenges when, because you were just going through so many product iterations, anything that just, like a shining diamond, anything that just shone through that caught your eye?
Yeah, honestly, like, so I'll tell
Or
you. So,
rather let me rephrase it, like, were there some early signals that you have found some sort of a product market fit?
for a long time, no. But
Mhm.
eventually, like, I would say like a couple of months like after like different product iterations, when we figured out that it was, why were restaurants really caring about feedback, because that was one thing that was coming back, like we want
Mhm.
feedback, we
Mhm.
want feedback. And it was not so about like figuring out the data analytics from the feedback and finding insights, which is what I thought. It was more so about recovering the customers that gave negative feedback, right? So that was like my first thing on like figuring out why. As soon as we figured that out, we really honed into that, and then we figured out that, okay, if we can build a system where someone gives a negative feedback and we can instantly make sure that customer is reached out by multiple different stakeholders at the right time, at the right place, and
Mhm.
then track if that customer came back again and spend money, that's like the ideal goal, right? So that's something
Mhm.
what we trying to build out, and that was when we built that out. That's when people really started like, okay, they started talking to us about payment, like how much are you going to charge, and that was like my first sign, okay, this is something actually there. And that's because when when we are able to show, okay, we are recovering X amount of customers and they're coming again and spending this much money, then we can directly tie whatever we're building to revenue,
Mm.
which is at the end of the day what they care about, right? So that was one thing. And then the second thing I figured out is, okay, we cannot target independent stores for a couple of reasons. One is that they're too small, so they don't get enough feedback volume. Two, usually the owners are always there, so their entire response is, oh, everything's in front of our eyes. And three is that usually they don't have budgets for it, right? So we
Mhm.
figured out that, okay, so if we target larger multi-unit restaurants, this is a problem pain point that they have a lot more. And the second we onboarded our first like 5 unit restaurant, the results were completely different, right? We were charging
Mm.
them for day one. So that was like my first sign. So then we started finding bigger and bigger restaurants.
And how would you get these feedbacks generally?
So usually it's by QR codes, or we have different sorts of integrations with POS systems. So you get a, like after you place an order, after like 90 minutes, you get a link via email.
And yeah, that's very interesting. Did you face any sort of challenge in kind of scaling it? Because it's
Uh,
personalizing surveys for every guest sounds in a way challenging, right?
no, because the way we kind of built the product, and that's like
Mhm.
credit to James, is the fact that it was like a, you know how you have like custom, for example, if you use Webflow or like a website
Mhm.
builder, you have like, or like Beehive for newsletters, you have like drag and drops and you can customize everything. So our system is very similar where we can, like the restaurant can kind of make their own survey in a way where you, like, let's say there's a QR code on a table and me and you go and we scan the QR code, right? So for me, based on my responses, the next questions for me will be different and next questions for you will be different, right? So,
Mhm.
and that's what
Mhm.
makes it very powerful, because a survey, no one likes filling in long surveys. So each survey is around 30 seconds, but it
Right.
has 100 plus different metrics because of how many different workflows they have, right? And that
Mhm.
workflow is built with drag and drop filters from the dashboard. So it's very easy. No one on, like, the brand itself can do it, and they don't need any tech to do it. So big credit to James for figuring, like, building this infrastructure out. But that made our lives very easy, because now, if let's say, what's the alternative to them collecting feedback? So there's different, so there's other feedback softwares, there's Google Forms, and then there's like paper and pen. So I'm not going to talk about
Mhm.
paper and pen because that's too outdated now, but usually it's Google Forms
Mhm.
or another feedback software, right? Google
Mhm.
Forms, you usually only ask like a fixed 5 questions. So how is your food, how is your ambience, XYZ. With us, it's like, okay, if I have a problem with food quality, like, it doesn't make sense to ask me about ambience or customer service, right? So it's very specific. So if I had a problem with food quality, it's going to ask me which food item, then it's going to
Mhm.
ask me what about that food item, right? And every
Right.
single thing is their internal KPI. So what the way the brands use us is, let's say each menu item has like a different kind of label on the dashboard where it says, okay, there's a problem with taste XYZ. So those are their internal KPIs, and then they show it to their food management team, who kind of looks at that data and then figures out what to do. So that's how
Mhm.
a very short survey is operating different kind of categories in each sort of like restaurant change behind the scene.
That makes sense, yeah. Because in a way, you're with the personalization, you're helping the consumers also very, happily fill the survey, and the personalization also helps the businesses actually get those insights, which will anyways help move up the KPIs, right? That makes an
Exactly, for the
interesting
customer
sense.
we don't want it to be like complicated. It's click click click, that's it.
Has your ideal customer profile evolved ever since
Oh,
launch, or
yeah,
is
yeah,
it?
big time, right? So that's what I was talking about. So we, like, the biggest reason, first it used to be like restaurants, but like, I don't know, any sort of restaurant, right?
Mhm.
Um, and usually, just because it's very hard to reach out to like bigger and bigger restaurants, that's not easy to do. Like, you can't even get in the room without knowing someone, right? So the only people I could kind of find were single operator restaurants, and that was very problematic because, like I
Mhm.
previously explained, our product's not meant for them. So eventually we figured out, based on trial and error, seeing who churned, who did not churn, is that any restaurant that has more than 5 at least dine-in outlets are our ideal customer portfolio. But ideally, we want someone with more than 20 outlets. So that's like
Mhm.
the type of scale that we're looking for, because then you get thousands and thousands of submissions every single week. And that is like good enough volume for us to show a very positive ROI.
Any specific type of restaurant that benefits the most from Harley?
So usually it's quick service restaurants, at least the way we kind
Mhm.
of looked about it is quick service restaurants, but we have a few fine dining, we have sorts of
Mhm.
different cafes, like, so everyone is kind of benefiting, but obviously the ones that are benefiting the most are the ones that have the most footfall, which is kind of like there is one challenge with the fact that we're kind of already helping those that are winning, which is like ideally you want to help people that are not doing as well and then give
Mhm.
it. But then unfortunately, if someone's only getting like 50 customers coming in from a day and they only have one outlet, that's very hard for us to show ROI. So
Mhm.
usually
Mhm.
when a single outlet restaurant now approaches me via inbound, I kind of explain them, listen, we are probably not the right fit for you, but here's a, so we made like a Google form for them, which is like most optimized from what I can tell, which would work really well for them. So it's already made. I send that to them and I tell them, use this. And I have like an API to like an Excel sheet and I tell them, use this, your data is going to come here, and just use that. So they still get something and we don't charge that, we don't charge them for it. But I know it's better than them wasting time on us and then us wasting any resources on them.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Any specific market that you're loving?
Not specifically. I think different markets have different challenges. In Pakistan, one big challenge is the fact that it's not a lot of very large chains. So, for example, like the biggest chains in Pakistan have 100 outlets, and there's
Mhm.
very few of them. Whereas in the US, like the big chains have 10,000, 15,000. Enterprise in Pakistan is like small to medium size in the US. So that's a big disadvantage. And then Pakistan, obviously, currency is a difference. It's difficult for them to kind of like, the economy is not as good as obviously developed countries. So that's one
Mhm.
challenge of Pakistan. Whereas in the UK or the Western countries, another challenge is the fact that the tech has advanced so much that we have to also stay on pace with that. So we can't just
Mhm.
stay in Pakistan, stay close minded, but we have to constantly keep building the product, constantly
Right.
make better,
Mhm.
constantly integrate new sorts of technology.
Makes sense. And a lot of these very SOP led, branded businesses like a Domino's, for example, or a Pizza Hut, are they doing it natively as well, internally, through their own apps, through their own softwares?
So every kind of POS does have a feedback volume, but the
Mhm.
only thing is obviously if you think about it from a POS company or any other type of company, like they have so many different, like they have 100 different modules on there, right? Whereas if
Mhm.
we're
Mhm.
putting all our time and energy on just one sort of niche on it, the difference between them just sending like, okay, a feedback questionnaire versus us sending that questionnaire, but that's only step one. Step two is
Mhm.
analyzing the data. Step three is showing the insights. Step four is sending alerts to the right people. Step five is recovering the customer. Step six is tracking if the customer recovered. And step seven is seeing if the customer sent money, like ordered something again, right? So there's
Mhm.
a difference between stopping at step one and doing all seven steps. So that's the biggest reason. So even if they do, which all of them have some sort of feedback channel, they still come onto us just because they want more.
That's very interesting. Has any of your understanding of restaurant operations changed since
Yeah,
launching
man.
Harlyy?
Like
Any
I went from
very
like
interesting requests from customers?
interesting requests. So I'll tell you, for example, okay,
Mhm.
from customers, do you mean like my customers or do you mean like the
The
and
the restaurant's customers.
the restaurant's customers? Yeah, like it's funny. It's sometimes because obviously I look through data itself to find trends and things like
Mhm.
that. But some people like I can't repeat it on the podcast, but they say some very questionable things.
That makes sense. Yeah. And has the general insights been kind of influencing this product roadmap as well? How
Yeah,
people are reacting, how often people are reacting, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
100%. Like everything that we build is based on like, so ironically, our feedback software is completely built on feedback. And
Mhm.
then that's feedback from our users, right? So we don't build anything without talking to our customers. Now, one thing though, I made a mistake where I used to like blindly follow exactly what restaurants wanted from me. Whereas now it's more about understanding why they want something. Because usually if I can understand the problem behind them asking for something, we can probably come up with a better, more efficient solution, right? So
Mhm.
that's one
Mhm.
thing now I actively focusing on is keep asking them. They want, like, let's say, for example, reports. Why do you want reports? What about, like, how are you planning on using the reports? Who are you going
Mhm.
to talk
Mhm.
about the reports to? Where are you going to send the reports to, right? So I'm asking all of these questions just because once I understand the why behind something, then we can probably figure out a way to more efficiently make the solution that they
Right.
were kind of recommending.
And the more you ask, the more trust you generate, the
Yeah,
more the skin in
100%.
the game, the more understanding of everything. Right?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And also like this is one thing, like you need to be kind of obsessed. So like for me, at least in this stage of life, I can't,
Mhm.
like, it's not healthy, but like I can't not work, right? So if
High
it's
five.
like for, yeah, yeah, it's like if a client messages me, and this is one, so especially when I'm in the UK, right? So if I'm waking up at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m., it's 11 p.m. in Pakistan, right? I already open my phone the first thing in the morning and I have messages from clients. I need to reply
Mhm.
ASAP, right? So usually, even if it's like, and the restaurant industry never sleeps, right? If it's shutting down at 2 a.m., the restaurant owners or the directors are also up till that late. So
Mhm.
usually I try to sleep early, but if I'm up and if I get a message, I try to reply ASAP unless I'm also in a demo call. So you gotta be obsessed,
Mhm.
and it's not something that you gotta force yourself to be. You intrinsically just become obsessed. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so I think,
That's what it takes.
yeah, exactly. And then to answer your question about like generating trust, I think that's when restaurant owners realize that, okay, this person gets it. And then similarly, I have a very, very, very good team where James and the rest of the tech people, anytime we figure out what to build, they build it like this. So things that would take other teams weeks, we can do it in days.
Mhm.
And then we try to think not in days, but actually in hours. So how can we condense our time to figure out if there's a feature that we need to build, what's the simplest version that we can build and we can launch today? And like there's so
Mhm.
many times I get like messages from clients saying done already, like question mark, just because it's unheard of. But that's what it takes. Like that's the only way we'll figure out a way to kind of win the game.
Yes, as I was saying, actually, so there was actually a story that I just told you, which is around. I was messaging Shan Arora from Alia at around 2 in the night for getting him on the podcast, and he accepted. So, yeah, sometimes that's what it takes, I guess. Once you're in this entrepreneurial journey, in whatever capacity you are, once you're in it, I don't think your brain ever stops. Sometimes execution can be laggy, sometimes there can be missteps, but your brain is always processing.
100%. And that's like
Mhm.
what you said, right? That's what it takes. So, like, I think one, like, I can probably know a lot more people that have more sorts of obsession traits than I do. Like, for example, even Daniel, I do think he's more AKA disciplined. And everyone has different sorts of skills. I think that's on being able to focus and do things
Mhm.
that are incredibly boring but push the needle forward again and again and again. And I think that's what it
Mhm.
takes, right? So for like let's say sales, that's how many people are you actually reaching out to, how many people, and that's a very boring thing to do. So the people that are actually new to the journey, what they do is they fill up their calendar with things that don't matter. Whereas what I try to do is fill up my calendar with things that only matter, which means that I really don't get a lot done with like the small, small things, editing things,
Mhm.
copywriting. Like our website is the worst website I've ever seen. But like honestly, none of our like no one in our team cares about it because all we care about
Mhm.
is getting more users and making sure existing users are happy and building more like building more tech.
It's all time based. So there's a time when you need a good website and you will know it and then you'll invest
Yeah,
in it, but
exactly.
this is not the time, right?
Exactly. So not yet, not yet. Like we have,
Superb.
like you said, we have more important things at the moment, right?
That's what I tell a lot of young startups as well, that not every one of you need a huge level of branding. Branding is something when you need some sort of a USP and people should know your USP. You need communication, versus if you are yourself getting on the calls, it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, and it's
You don't need
also
a world
because we
class
have
brand.
like this is a very, I'm very happy to say this, but we have so many
Mhm.
users onboarding, and like
Yes.
it's like we are trying to now make sure that we only accept the people that we know we can help, and then
Mhm.
deliver like utmost value, right? Like really,
Mhm.
really make the product strong. And I don't think we're fully at the level of PMF, even though we have
Mhm.
early signs of it, and we're probably very close to getting there. But till we reach that point, I don't want to focus on anything other than helping existing users and building features based on their feedback. That's it. That's the only thing that matters.
Can't stop doing what works.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. Are there any interesting patterns that you've noticed about what makes or breaks like a guest's dining experience in general?
Yeah, so like it's less about so the biggest one that I've noticed till now is ironically it's very less about what the negative experience was and more so about how that negative experience was treated. And that's the
Hmm.
biggest thing. And essentially the problem that we're trying to solve also is like, let's say you go to a restaurant, it doesn't matter what you do not like. Usually it's food quality is the one that rubs people the wrong way, or if a staff is rude. Those are the two big ones that come up.
Right.
But let's say it's either of those things. And if it wasn't handled correctly or handled right there, what happens is over the next 2 days, let's say someone calls you 2 days later asking for like saying sorry or something like that, right? In those 2 days, every person you meet, and if you meet them and any conversation about food comes up, you're going to bash that restaurant, right? And negative word of mouth kills any sort of company, not just a restaurant, right? And then similarly positive word of mouth like makes it, right?
Right.
So what we kind of want to do is as soon as a negative experience happens, because quite honestly, no matter what you do, it will still happen. It's hospitality, right? It's meant to happen. It's how fast can you reach out to the customers. So though on average, this is a very stat that I'm proud of. On average, a Harlyy user's customer, and these are like big chains, mind you, right? So our average customer chain has 18 outlets. Our average user gets called within 10 minutes, right? That's 8 minutes they get called, right? So before, and then at the same time, the store manager gets an alert on his phone and he knows where you are, right? So before you even leave that restaurant, someone comes up to you, apologizes, right? You go outside, you sit in your call, you get another call from someone at the call center or the head office apologizing again. At that time, you get some sort of incentive depending on the restaurant. At that time, all of your anger is gone because you're like, this is unheard of service, right? Like, yes, they made a mistake, but they truly care about me. And as long as the customer
Right.
feels that, they're instead now going to tell their friends, man, I had a bad experience, but I can't believe like this is what happened. Like, and this is something that's happened. Like, a few of our users, like our end customers and our clients' customers, they ended up posting reviews on Facebook saying that I left a negative review. And I love this story because someone left a negative review about food quality and the chef got an alert. So the chef walks out mid, like while they're dining, and says sorry and then makes them another meal. And they were like, I can't believe this happened, right? And that's like, and these are the kind of stories that we want to make sure that happen again and again and again. And that's through sending relevant alerts to the right people, relevant kind of
Right.
having like a system for complaints.
It's very interesting. This aspect of customer service, the core aspect of service, I think it gets kind of washed down as time passes, as companies get bigger. Sometimes companies doesn't have to get bigger. Even if it's a two outlet chain, you will see
Yeah.
that complacency sets in, and they actually forget that you're here for service. So it makes
Yeah,
sense.
exactly. And like, for example, like tech, like a lot of people are trying to replace humans. And in hospitality, it is meant for humans, right? So we're not trying to replace humans anywhere. We have to make sure to build a system that can assist them, that can make them more efficient, that can save them more time. Because if you
Right.
completely remove a restaurant, like humans from a restaurant experience, like the customer is not gonna get that entire experience that they're hoping for, right? They you want to interact with people, and if you don't, then there are separate different types of restaurants that exist for them to go. But if every restaurant becomes that, it's not like the hospitality industry won't be the
Right.
hospitality industry.
Then it's just efficient food transaction.
Literally.
Right. Any other things that you see that restaurant tech companies are getting kind of wrong about what the restaurant operators need?
Wrong.
Wrong or maybe not right, maybe. Yeah.
So I think the biggest one is what I talked about is a lot of people are trying to replace humans, and I
Right.
do think
Correct.
in some parts of that restaurant experience humans can be replaced, right? Like I
Right.
genuinely do think that, but in a lot humans need to be there and tech needs to be able to figure out a way to assist those humans. And that's where I feel like a lot of tech companies are getting wrong, but it also really depends on the market, right? So for example, in Pakistan, the labor cost is not that is not that
Right.
high, right? So it doesn't make sense to completely remove the humans. Whereas if you go in the Western countries, like labor cost is absurd. So for them, having like figuring out a way to maybe cut like labor costs by 5% or 10% in departments that really doesn't need labor, or really doesn't
Mhm.
interact with customers, that really makes sense to me.
Right.
So it really
That makes
depends
sense.
on A, the market, and then B, what department, right? So if it's, so for example, we're a very customer facing, like front end kind of feedback restaurant tech software. But on the
Mhm.
back end, a lot of things can actually replace humans. So it really depends on what segment you're targeting as well.
That makes sense. Yeah, there's a lot of touch points where people are not interacting. That can be order taking, the SOPs, so many things, right? It's
Inventory,
difficult
things
to
like
kind
that.
of, yeah, difficult to wrap around how efficiency works in the restauranting, right? It's very
Yeah,
complex in a way.
100%.
What has been the most rewarding aspect of building this solution throughout this journey so far?
Man, like I feel like it has a lot to do with like with my past as well. And that's like the mindset of being an athlete and coming from that kind of background. But like when it comes to feeling rewarded, I think just the fact that like, because it takes really like a lot of guts to do like to go into entrepreneurship, to do anything. So what I try to do every single day is try to chase that feeling of discomfort. So, and the bar keeps on raising, right? So when I first started
Hmm.
Harlyy, like I felt sick to my stomach when I posted my first LinkedIn post, right? I felt sick, right? And right
Right.
now it's like that doesn't matter to me at all, right? So
Hmm.
then the next step was when I first walked into like an independent chain, and I talked to a restaurant owner. Again, I felt sick, right? Now, if I am having a demo with a 50 or 60 unit restaurant outlet, I'm completely comfortable. So it's like raising your barrier of what discomfort means, and that can only happen when you keep on growing. So I think the most rewarding aspect is A, being able to do what I want every single day, and which is work. So it's not about free time, but being able to chase what my dreams are. And then second is just adopting that growth mindset. So as long as I grow, I'm really happy. So I think every day is like a rewarding experience. So there's not one kind of experience. It's just that mindset that you're kind of in.
That's super, man. And that makes sense because I think that sports background also helps with the perseverance and just fast execution,
Yeah. Because
right?
to just give you like a bit of a background, so I used to swim like very competitively. So I started when I was four. Until like the age of 17, I had 33 national records in Pakistan, and that was like, and to get there, you have to be like obsessive, right? And you learn so many. So there's all those basic traits of discipline, of like being able to do the boring things. I like everything that I do today, kind of it's literally the same thing, just different environment. It's the you need the same mindset, same resilience. But I think the biggest thing that a lot of people don't talk about is that like swimming taught me how to dream. So like you can't ever go to a race and win a race without believing you can win a race, right? And entrepreneurship is literally like a long term, like how long can you keep your self belief, right? Because
Right.
maybe your family doesn't believe in you, maybe people don't believe in you, sometimes maybe your team doesn't believe in you. But as long as you believe in yourself and the idea, something will happen. And as long as you can keep that belief, right? And in swimming, what I learned is that you need to believe to win. The second that you don't think you'll win a race, you'll never win a race, right? And the best part about that is the fact that my competitors, the ones that are also really high level and I trained with, they all believe that they could win as well. And sometimes I believe that I could win, but I lost. And similarly in entrepreneurship, I believe that let's say I'm probably like going to make it, and then I lose like a really big deal, right? But then you got to remind yourself that you got to keep going again and again and again and again. So I
Totally.
just love that aspect of being an athlete where you can like the world is your oyster, and as long as you believe that you can do something, it doesn't matter what anyone's going to say.
There's it's such a fun juxtaposition of thought because there's always a level of imposter syndrome going on, but still no winner ever thought that, oh, I can't win. That's
Yeah,
never thought.
100%,
You always
100%.
think you will, but sometimes there's one of those like, when will I? Can I? How will I? But it's
Yeah.
never like, oh, I can't win. That's never a case.
Yeah, 100. Like that's a very good way to put it, because even with heart, like, and especially because I take on sales so much, it's like a punch to the gut. Like one day, like 2 days
Right.
ago, I got punched to the gut. Like I lost a very big deal, and probably the biggest till right now for Harlyy, right? And then today, like we're very close to signing up like a deal which is as big as that one, right? And I didn't see that coming. So it's like this entire wave
Yeah.
of like up
Totally.
and down, up and down, up and down. And a lot of like mentors that I have are telling me, Zishan, you need to learn how to stay like this. So That's one thing that I'm really working on, is how to stay regulated
Mhm.
during the ups and downs. One pro tip, like I know I'm swaying away from the conversation, but I think what
Yeah.
really helps, because just because I think this
Mhm.
is really good advice, is
Sure.
I have like a WhatsApp group with myself only, and it's called
Mhm.
lows. Okay, and every
Mhm.
time I have a very bad day, or a very like I lose a very big deal, or like let's say some there's downtime on the website, or like a customer churns or something like that, where I feel like, oh my god, we're not gonna make it. I just write
Mhm.
down how I'm feeling on that chat, right, every time. And what usually happens is, like, 4 weeks later, some another thing happens, and I write it down. But then I scroll up and I see the thing that I wrote previously, and then I realize 4 weeks later that thing really means nothing, because we moved
Mhm.
on past it,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
it's really helped me a lot, because now anytime something happens and I put it down there, I know that 4 weeks later it's not going to matter. So might as well just move on from it now. So I really love this advice that I was given.
That's a yeah, that's a good advice. That's better than journaling. Because
Yeah.
tracking your journaling and kind of feeling anything, it's very difficult. But yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. The lows are always different when you look back.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, like a lot of, like, it has a lot to do with my faith as well. But for me, the way I look at those are, there's some sort of blessing in disguise happening. I just don't know it yet, but it is always all like, there hasn't been one time where in perspective I look back at a loss and I think that, and it could be not just with business, anything, right? It could be like, now I understand that every single thing was something that was better for me, and it was meant to happen. So as long as so it's very hard to think about that like in the present, but I'm getting better at it. But I know for a fact that when I lose a big deal, there's some sort of like, I'm being saved from something, right? Maybe those people, for example, I'll give you a very good example. There was a company that we were on final stages to talking to, and for some reason out of nowhere they pulled out, right? And they everyone loved it. Like, I was so sure they were going to sign the deal. And then one of their directors, not C level but one level below them, called me. I'm not going to even say his role just so that it's not obvious. He called me and he told me, listen, I'm about to resign in 2 days because they haven't paid anyone in 3 months. And I'm so glad that this didn't work for you, because I don't think you were ever going to get paid. And they've done this with two software companies before you, right? And I was like, oh my God. Like, I could, like, it
Dodged
felt
a
like
bullet.
like, again, you get saved from things that you don't know happen.
That's Superman. As we say, जो होता है अच्छे के लिए ही होता है. And on
Facts,
that
bro.
note, on that
Facts.
note, we
100%.
end the conversation. It was a superb one. Thank you so much for your time. Loved it, man.
Of course. Let me know if you need anything.
Awesome. Awesome. Take care, everybody.
Take care.